Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We've got a really interesting one today, digging into a company that's been making some moves. The big question is Nova Minerals a good time to buy right now? Yeah, they're this Australian gold developer, but they trade pretty heavily over on the Nasdaq. And they just did this big corporate shuffle, seems designed to get more attention, more liquidity in the U.S., plus they've got that massive project up in Alaska they're pushing forward. So we've pulled together sources covering, well, everything from that recent corporate action to what they're actually doing on the ground in the Tintina Gold Belt. And we've got a list of catalysts, things to watch for, stretching into 2026. Before we jump in, though, please do subscribe, like the show, maybe leave a comment below. It really helps us out. And hey, if there's a specific company you want us to look into next time, just drop the name in the comments. We'll add it to our list.
Definitely. So our goal today really is to piece this all together for you. We need to understand this Estelle Gold project. That's the core asset, right? Yeah. But also connect that to these recent moves they've made, especially this liquidity push. Why now? What's the signal they're sending about wanting, serious U.S. capital? Let's unpack it.
Okay, let's start right there then. The liquidity thing.
Yeah.
Because that's the news that just happened. Biggest headline out of October was that 5-for-1 ADR forward stock split. Announced mid-month, kicked in October 28th, 2025. And you said it wasn't just like routine maintenance. This was strategic.
Oh, absolutely strategic. And kind of clever how they did it. They changed the ratio, the ADR to ordinary share ratio. Used to be 1 ADR represented 60 ordinary shares. Now it's 1 for 12.
Okay, 1 to 60 down to 1 to 12.
Exactly, which effectively works out as a 400% stock distribution for anyone holding the ADRs here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. The whole point is to make the share price look more, normal by U.S. trading standards.
Right, alignment sounds good. But, cut to the chase. Why does this actually matter? For me, the average U.S. investor, or maybe more importantly for the big institutional players.
Okay, that's the critical piece. Think about it this way. A lot of U.S. funds, wealth advisors, even index rules, they often have minimum share price requirements. If a stock's trading too low, say under $5 sometimes, it just gets filtered out automatically. They can't even look at it.
Okay, so it's like a barrier to entry.
Precisely. So by doing this forward split, bumping up that nominal price per ADR, they're basically trying to get over that hurdle. It's all about boosting liquidity, getting more shares traded daily, and crucially making it easier for those institutions to actually buy in. We should see, or at least they hope we'll see, a real difference in who's trading this right after that October 28th effective date.
Okay, so it's like opening the door wider, hoping the bigger players walk through. Makes sense. That definitely puts more weight on the technicals later, but let's stick with the fundamentals first. What's the actual asset here? What makes Nova Minerals special enough to warrant this kind of attention? What's their edge?
The edge is definitely geological, but also geopolitical. It's the Estelle Gold project.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's in Alaska specifically, the Tintina Gold Belt, which is, world-class territory for gold. And it's not just a prospect. It's pretty advanced stage. Plus, it's not only gold. They've got significant antimony there, too.
Antimony. Okay, you mentioned that. For listeners maybe just focused on gold, why is that important? Especially right now.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting strategically. Antimony is classified as a critical mineral by the U.S. government. It's used in alloys, flame retardants, and increasingly in new battery tech.
And the U.S. imports most of it, right?
Exactly. Heavily reliant on places like China and Russia. So having a large, potentially domestic source of antimony alongside gold here in Alaska, that makes the Estelle project much more significant than just another gold mine. It offers exposure to strategic metals, which is frankly a big deal right now. It adds another whole dimension to its value.
Got it. So that adds a layer of strategic importance. Okay. What were they actually doing on site operationally, say, back in Q3 2025? Any recent progress?
Yeah, they weren't just sitting around waiting for the split. The focus in Q3 was really on optimizing the development plans for Estelle. Lots of work on resource upgrades, drilling, trying to increase the known reserves. They reported positive results there, basically firming up the numbers. It's that groundwork you have to do, proving just how big this thing is before you go looking for the major financing to build it.
Okay, but here's the elephant in the room, maybe, for U.S. investors. You mentioned they're Australian, so all their main filings are with the ASX, the Australian Exchange, not the SEC here. Doesn't that lack of, the standard SEC filings, the 10Ks, 10Ks, doesn't that just immediately turn off the big U.S. funds, the ones who live and die by that transparency?
That's a fair point, and yes, it is a crucial difference. That transparency gap is real. Any fund whose mandate strictly requires SEC reporting companies, well, they're out. Nova Minerals won't be on their radar.
Right.
However, our sources suggest that for funds that specifically focus on resource developers, especially small cap ones, they're often more used to dealing with companies reporting under Australian or Canadian rules, like the ASX or TSX. Those reporting standards are still rigorous, just different. So these funds rely more heavily on the independent analyst reports and the technical data released by the company itself. It's a hurdle, yes, but not necessarily a complete roadblock for all institutions.
Okay, so we have to kind of look through the lens of the analysts covering them to get a feel for their financial health. What's the general take there? Debt levels, how are they funding all this exploration?
The analyst consensus seems to be that their debt is manageable. It's not seen as a major red flag right now. Their main strategy for funding seems to have been raising money through equity, selling more shares. They did a capital raise back in 2024, which tells you they prefer using shareholder money to push the project forward rather than taking on big loans. At this stage, pre-production, that's often seen as the more careful approach, even if it means potential dilution down the road.
Right, dilution risk is always there with developers. Okay, let's switch gears then. We've talked about the why behind the split, the asset itself, the reporting nuances. Now let's look at the market reaction. How does the technical picture look? This is based on data from around mid-October 2025. Is the chart actually reflecting this optimism we've been discussing?
It really is, actually. The technicals look pretty bullish. It strongly suggests we're in an accumulation phase. Since they announced the ADR split, the stock's held a nice positive trend. Importantly, that's been supported by a noticeable increase in trading volume and pretty stable prices. It doesn't look like just quick day trading froth. It feels more like people are building positions, maybe anticipating that split taking effect.
Okay, so if someone's looking at the chart right now, what are the key levels they should be watching? Using those new split-adjusted prices, of course.
Right, split adjusted. Two main areas to watch. You've got pretty solid support down around the $1.30 to $1 to $1.50 range. That looks like a potential floor. On the other side, resistance seems to be building up near $1.90 to $2.10. So the expectation, based on our sources, is for the stock to kind of trade within a bullish range, let's say $1.40 to $2.20 over the next 3 months or so, October through December 2025, likely driven by momentum from this split.
And what about the momentum indicators, like RSI, MCD? Can you simplify what those are telling us? Is the move getting stretched or does it have legs?
Sure. Think of RSI, the relative strength index, like a gas gauge for the stock's momentum. Is it running hot or still got fuel? Our sources put the RSI somewhere between 58 and 64. That's actually a pretty healthy spot. It shows strong upward momentum, but it's not yet in that overbought territory, which is usually above 70.
So room to run, potentially?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And importantly, the MACD indicator, which kind of tracks the relationship between moving averages, is positive and trending up. That's generally seen as a signal of strong underlying buying pressure. It confirms that feeling of accumulation we talked about.
Okay, so the charts seem to back up the story. Accumulation, not just hype. That fits with the idea of attracting those bigger players. What's the general feeling out there? Market sentiment?
No.
Analysts? Funds?
Overwhelmingly positive, based on what we're seeing. Analyst coverage, especially from Australia, where they follow it closely, has become more bullish. That's driven by the resource updates coming out of Estelle and that strategic angle with the antimony.
Makes sense.
Retail investor sentiment also seems quite strong. Lots of chatter anticipating the effects of the split. But maybe the most significant thing is the reported increase in institutional eyeballs on the stock. Like we discussed, funds that track small cap resource developers seem to view the split as lowering the barrier, making it easier to invest. That's a potentially powerful shift.
Right. Okay, so this leads us nicely into the future. You don't buy a developer for what it is today, but what it could be. What are the specific catalysts? What dates or events should listeners have marked on our calendars for the next, say, 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, the calendar looks pretty busy, actually. First up, the immediate one. October 28th, 2025. That's when the ADR split actually happens, becomes effective. Then, looking ahead, November 13th is penciled in for their next earnings report, covering Q3 2025 results. After that, December 1st is interesting. There's a major gold ETF rebalancing scheduled. If Nova Minerals gets included or its weighting increases, that could force some large funds to buy shares automatically.
Index event. Got it.
Then, usually around mid-December, maybe the 17th or so, look for some kind of end-of-year operational update on Estelle. That's a key milestone check. And finally, fast forward to January 15th, 2026. That's when the institutional holdings disclosures start coming out. We'll get a clearer picture then of which big funds actually bought in after the split.
Okay, quite a few dates there. Now, beyond the scheduled stuff, there's always the rumor mill, right? The speculation that can really move a stock like this. What's the chatter? Any unconfirmed buzz out there that could significantly re-rate Nova Minerals if it turned out to be true?
Well, there are basically three big themes floating around in the market chatter. These are definitely rumors. I need to stress that.
Understood.
Well,
Unconfirmed.
right. First is a potential for a really significant jump in the resource estimate at Estelle, like a major discovery update that materially increases the known gold or antimony, proving it's even bigger than currently thought. Second, and this is probably the juiciest rumor, is talk of strategic partnership discussions, specifically with a major North American mining company.
Ah, the M&A angle.
Exactly. Could be a joint venture to develop Estelle, or maybe even full-on acquisition interest. That kind of talk always gets the market excited.
A North American major. Any names being whispered, or is it just general speculation?
Mostly general at this stage, unfortunately. The speculation focuses on North American major because, well, they'd have the capital and the Alaskan operating experience, potentially, to fast-track a project like Estelle. The underlying idea, though, is that a big player might want Estelle for that combination of gold and critical metals in a safe jurisdiction like Alaska. It fits that consolidation narrative.
Okay, and what was the third rumor?
The third bit of speculation is that Nova Minerals might be considering another listing move in 2026, maybe a secondary listing on the Toronto Stock Exchange, or even trying to uplist to a bigger U.S. exchange, just to broaden their reach even further.
Interesting. Okay, M&A potential is exciting, but we absolutely have to balance that out. Developers come with risks. Let's slow down for a second and be really clear about the potential downsides here. What are the key risks an investor needs to consider?
Good point. You can break them down into two main buckets. First, company-specific risks, mostly related to actually building this thing in Alaska. You've got permitting hurdles, always a risk. Execution risk, can they actually build it on time and on budget? Delays, cost overruns, these things happen, especially in remote locations. Any major setback at Estelle could really hit the stock hard. And like we touched on earlier, funding risk. They'll need a lot more money to get into production. That likely means raising more capital, which could dilute existing shareholders.
Okay, execution and funding. What's the second bucket of risks?
That's more sector-wide commodity price risk. Simple as that. The economics of the Estelle project depend heavily on the price of gold, and to some extent, antimony staying strong. If those prices take a significant dive, the project's value drops, and so does Nova Minerals' valuation. That's just inherent in the mining business.
Right, always exposed to the underlying commodity.
Okay.
So, let's try to wrap this all up. We've looked at the split, the asset, the reporting, the technicals, catalysts, rumors, risks. Bringing all these sources together, what's the overall take on Nova Minerals right now? What's the synthesized rating or thesis?
Well, based on the aggregated sentiment from the sources we reviewed, the overall view is definitely positive. It comes out with a bullish rating, actually quite strong, around 8.5 out of 10. And the reasoning really boils down to a few key things. That strong fundamental potential for Estelle, especially with the antimony kicker, the bullish technical setup post-split suggesting accumulation, and this positive momentum in sentiment, both retail and institutional, heading into a period with several potential catalysts.
Okay, 8.5 bullish. So, for you, the listener, if you're considering this, what kind of investment horizon makes the most sense based on these sources? Is it a quick trade around the split or more of a long-term strategic play?
Interestingly, the sources seem to suggest it could work for both, depending on your strategy. It looks attractive for shorter-term traders, maybe looking at the next 1 to 3 months, trying to play that expected increase in volume and news flow around the split, the ETF rebalancing, and those operational updates. But at the same time, it also profiles as a strategic holding for longer-term investors. If you want multi-year exposure to gold, and particularly critical metals, backed by a potentially very large project in a stable place like Alaska, then it fits that bill too.
Got it. 2 potential paths there. And of course, the essential reminder. This conversation is purely for educational and research purposes. It's based entirely on the source materials we gathered. We're absolutely not giving financial advice.
Absolutely. And maybe just one final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. Given everything we've discussed, the deliberate moves to attract U.S. investors, the sheer scale of Estelle, and especially those persistent rumors about partnership talks or M&A with a North American major, how much of Nova Minerals' current price reflects just the known gold and antimony in the ground, and how much might already be pricing in the possibility of one of those big players making a move in the next year or so? That's the question, isn't it? Figuring that out could be key to understanding where the stock goes next.
That's a great point to end on. A lot to consider there. It's definitely a dynamic situation, one worth keeping an eye on. Thanks for joining us for this exploration today.